The first playoff quarterfinal is Wednesday night as Ohio State, the defending champs, take on Miami in the Cotton Bowl Classic. Buckeye wide receiver Jeremiah Smith, a South Florida, Miami kid, and he basically says if Miami was as good as Ohio State, he would have gone there out of high school.
If Miami had won or played in games like this before you signed out of high school, would your decision maybe be different?
Most likely, yeah. I'll probably end up going to Miami if things was on the right track then and there. But I chose to stick with Ohio State.
All right, Danny Kanell is here. This would be like you going to Florida State and saying, hey, if they were better at Miami, I would have gone there. What do you think of him saying that right before they face off in the playoff?
I like it. He has not been shy going into this game.
Tell him the
talking
truth.
About the history of the two programs. He played high school football right down the street from us, right down the street from Miami. I'm sure if they had an offer that was comparable to what Ohio State was offering, and they were a consistent winner, I do think maybe Jeremiah Smith is right.
Oh, so you think it might be about the money as well?
Well, yeah, possibly. That does come into play nowadays, so I think you'd be foolish to think it wasn't. But I think every player, sadly now, I think money comes first, but then right behind that it comes, I want to win a championship. And Miami, at the time, a couple years ago, did not look as close as they do now. So I think this makes total sense, and I think it's a refreshing bit of honesty from Jeremiah Smith.
Could that be used as bulletin board material for the Hurricanes?
Absolutely. In this type of game, definitely. If you're Mario Cristobal and you're that offensive staff or that defensive staff, you are pulling any little bit of just something you can grab a hold of and take offense to, just in preparation. I don't think it matters on game day, but like when it's a practice that's supposed to be hard and it's going to be a long work day, which is probably yesterday or today, then you're absolutely going to let the team know that, try to motivate them before practice.
All right, well, Ohio State has Julian Sayin at quarterback, who's right now on pace to be the most accurate passer in a single season in college football history, but Indiana got to him. 5 sacks in the Big Ten championship game, and Ohio State lost that game. Miami has a great pass rush. They're 4th in the country in sacks. Is that going to be a problem in that game potentially for Ohio State?
That, to me, is the number one matchup in this game that I'm looking forward to see how Ohio State responds from their offensive line, and also Julian Sayin, who was used to putting up monster numbers throughout the season, being able to throw from a clean pocket. You mentioned the 5 sacks in that game. Over the entire season, he was only sacked 6 times. So they almost matched that total in one game, and it really has been the first bit of true adversity that Ohio State has faced all season long. They pretty much blew through their schedule. The only other close game they had was against Texas in week 1, and this is an entirely different team. So I'm curious to see what adjustments they make, if they try to keep a tight end in, if they use the running backs to help, if they slide protection. But the problem is, which one are you going to try to block? Ruben Bain or Akeem Mesidor coming off the edge? Both of them are pretty nasty, and I always want to see how a quarterback responds after a game in which they struggle. We've seen Carson Beck have to do that several times throughout his career. We don't know how Julian Sayin will respond because he's played so good and his team has been so great. We haven't seen him have to answer when you've been knocked down. So that, to me, is the number one matchup. Miami's defensive front 7 against Ohio State's offensive line, and therefore Julian Sayin.
Miami kept Texas A&M out of the end zone, and that's how they ended up winning that game in College Station. Carson Beck didn't have to do a lot, threw for just over 100 yards. How much better is he going to have to be for Miami to win this game?
I don't think he has to be that much better. You can't throw for, 113 yards and expect to win. But I do think that Carson Beck and Texas A&M and the kicking game, the special teams, were significantly impacted by the wind. It was 30, 40-mile-an-hour gusts, and we saw Miami called a couple shot plays and got some receivers beyond the Texas A&M secondary, and Carson Beck overthrew those. You might not only get those type of matchups once or the game, and against Texas A&M, again, you had some excuses. And this one, controlled temperature, you will not have that excuse. But I think Carson Beck can hit those. I know his interceptions have been a major storyline throughout his career. 4 against Louisville, the 1 in overtime against SMU, which cost him the game. But outside of those 2 games, he has been much better, and he has taken care of the football, including their final month of the season and last week. That, to me, is priority number one. They're going to have to pick their spots. They don't want Carson Beck to go out there and throw it 40 times and ask him to throw for 400 yards. They want him to take the plays that are there, make a couple big throws, take care of the football, execute the offense, and even some of the hidden stuff that we don't even talk about, getting you into the right run plays, getting you in the right protections to make sure you have a positive play. And sometimes a positive play can be a sack or a throwaway. That, to me, is a lesson that Carson Beck has learned by this point in his career, where I think you've seen a matured Carson Beck where he won't make that, just horrific mistake that we've seen him make at times in his career.
Yeah, hasn't done that during this 5-game winning streak. Just one single interception thrown, and that was in the blowout win at Pittsburgh. All right, last year, we know the format was different, right? The seeding is different. It's straight seeding this year, but teams that had byes last year went 0-4, and that included Oregon was the number 1 overall seed, and they lost in this round. The national championship game was between Ohio State and Notre Dame. Came from the first round of the college football playoff. Both of them did. How much of an advantage can this be for Miami that they have played more recently than Ohio State, and they've kind of got the ball rolling a little bit?
I don't think 1 year is anywhere enough of information, data to look at and say, all right, a trend is unfolding where it's a disadvantage, where you've had the long layoff. And even more so, we did see Miami did not play in an ACC championship game, so they had a pretty significant layoff before their game against Texas A&M. It didn't seem to bother them. We've already seen a couple trends broken already. Last year, all the home teams won on their home fields. This year, we saw 2 home fields go down. I think you'll see one of those teams that got a bye, probably multiple teams, win a game this weekend. If you ask any coach across the college football landscape, would you rather play sooner or would you rather have more rest? I think 99% of them would say, I'd want to have the rest. We can get healthy. That's what I want to see. I want to see teams at their best, but you can get kick-started. That's what happened last year with Ohio State. They played early, got going, and that's why I kind of like Miami. Even though the game wasn't the prettiest, that kind of kick-started their playoff run. But I would maintain that Miami has been sort of in playoff mindset the last month of the season because they had to win, and they had to win impressively. So I think that is an edge to Miami Hurricanes. And then for Ohio State, again, they lost their last game in the Big Ten title. We haven't seen them respond, so they've had to sit there and stew over that loss for a few weeks.
This is the biggest spread of the quarterfinals. This is the only game where the spread is more than 1 touchdown. It's 9.5. Where do you side on this one on New Year's Eve?
See, this one scares me because I really like Miami. I mean, I picked Miami to win the game, but clearly the odds makers are on a different line of thinking, and I get it. Ohio State has been spectacular throughout the whole entire season, dominating most of their opponents. They have more NFL talent on their roster probably than anybody in the playoffs, but I think Miami does too. And I wonder if this matchup is similar to what you saw Ohio State deal with in the Big Ten championship game. Indiana was able to pressure Julian Sayin. I think Miami will be able to do the same. Fernando Mendoza, his stats were not phenomenal. He only threw for 233 yards. They ran the ball with a little bit of success. I think they're going to try to get Mark Fletcher going, slow the game down, keep it out of the hands of Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate and Julian Sayin. So I think this matchup favors Miami. I like Miami with the 9.5. I even like a little money line sprinkle on it, especially with a low total, 41.5. Like in a lower scoring game, there's a chance it could be a touchdown game easily. So I love Miami in the points.
The last time these two teams played, it was flipped. Miami was the heavy favorite. Ohio State upset them. Maybe thanks to a flag. Was it pass interference back in the 2002 national championship game, Danny?
I live down here in South Florida, so that's all I've heard about for the last 20 years. I actually like that they I think they should have let him play here. I like when you have a game that unfolds and you let them get a little more physical. So I guess I'm siding with the Miami Hurricane fans. But all you want is consistency. And without going back and rewatching the game from start to finish, I think it's a little bit of a ticky-tack call. So I'll go with the Miami Hurricane fans here on this one.
Miami thought they had won the national championship.
This one better not come down to a controversial call.
Oh, please.
Because we can't hear about it for another 20 years.
Please. All right, this is the only game on New Year's Eve, and then we'll have 3 more on New Year's Day. Cover 3 podcast, latest episode. Danny, you guys are going to be...
Yeah, we already did our locks. We're doing a big game breakdown. Me and Chip are going to be at the Orange Bowl, half the Cover 3. Yeah.
All right, sounds good. Danny Kanell and company on Cover 3 podcast.